Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's everybody? Hope you're all doing well. It's really good to see you all. Welcome to Asking for a Friend TV. And my name is Murali, and this is
B.
my beautiful babe, my plus one. Yeah, everything. She's all that. So good to see you, babe. Really good to see you all. Just tell us where you're watching from. And if you've got friends who need to be watching, please make sure that they know about this. It's kind of a bit of a slow start today. I can see we've got about a few people on YouTube. So just tell us where you're watching from. Tell us what part of the world you're checking us out from. And we're so glad that you're here.
Yeah.
We
For the usual people, just say what?
Mimi member.
Member. Member from whatever. Since. Member since.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good.
So good to see every single one of you, and we're looking forward to tonight. It's going to be fun. This is actually season 3, episode 9. So it's our 9th episode. Yeah. Absolutely.
2
Yeah.
or 3 because I was doing a
Come
different
on.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay,
3.
so
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yes, and it cannot be our 9th. It has to be more.
Absolutely. It's 9 because we actually had an 8th, but 8th was a secret episode. So it's the one we didn't put up. So if you missed 8th, I can't even tell you because we didn't record it.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun, wasn't it?
It really
We
was.
really had a blast.
It really was, and we are actually debating on whether to be doing that every once in a while.
Yeah, maybe every month. I mean, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
I actually had
really.
so much fun last week. We had a special Zoom only event.
Yeah.
With quite a whole bunch of people that showed up, and we just
Yeah.
hung out and
And
talked,
people
and
asked
people asked
questions.
questions. It was just an interactive
Yeah.
session. Really fun.
Yeah, I have a few people. I have Passes saying hi.
Hey, Passes.
Hey, Passes. Virginia saying member from Kahawa.
Come on.
Virginia,
I
just
love
say
it.
how long? Since when? Then
Stop
we
the
have
big pressure.
Wangari member and Munga from Matasia. And are you a member? Have you been
Are
watching
you a
for a
visitor?
while?
Yeah.
Or,
And Mungash, great to see you. And then Wangari is here. Wangari
Yeah.
Poli. Great to see
Yeah,
every single
great
one
to
of
see
you.
you
Yeah,
guys.
just tell us where you're watching from.
Yeah.
Tell us if you've been part of the family for a while. You can say member.
Yeah.
It's really good to see all of you. So hey, we're going to start. We've got an exciting show tonight, and we've got to get it on the road.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about different personalities in marriage, or just different spending habits, different ways of thinking about money. All that stuff, and we've had some great conversations today in the Asking for a Friend community. So we're looking forward to just digging into that. But before that, for those who are new,
let me first say,
okay.
we had different spending money habits.
So you will get into the show.
It drove me up the wall. But anyway, that's just a teaser. Welcome.
Okay. So do you want to talk about what we do and what this show is about?
Yes, we can do that. For those of you who are new, who are joining us for the very first time, we both actually are pastors. We are authors, we're speakers, we're marriage coaches. We absolutely are passionate about marriage and leadership. We enjoy that. And yeah, I'm a trained marriage and family therapist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we do Asking for a Friend, and this is our mentoring space. It's a space where we mentor couples, and one of the reasons is because we just have a passion to see people mentored the same way we were mentored by others.
Yeah.
And it's just we realize that that's just such a needed space in, and so we're so glad that you can check in. And many of you are not just here because you're mentored, but you also give mentoring to others. We have got WhatsApp communities as part of what we call the Ndoa couples community. If you're not part of that, then just click on the link in the broadcast, and it'll take you directly to our WhatsApp interface, and you can actually join the community. And what we do is, like today, we just had we have every Tuesday we have interactions, we have conversations, and man, some of you guys have such good wisdom. People just share wisdom. In fact, sometimes I'm like, that should be the show. I mean, just that WhatsApp community, people have just such good, deep insights, and a couple of our WhatsApp communities today were just on fire. And so thank you so much for participating in that, and we're really excited. Apart from that, we do a couple of couples experiences to strengthen marriage.
Yeah.
You want to talk about those?
Yes, we do have Ndoa. Now, Ndoa is there for people who have never done a marriage foundation course. whether you've been married 0 years up to what, over 20
Whatever,
years,
however
however
many
long.
years.
If you've never done a marriage foundation course,
Or
then
just want to renew your marriage.
just want to renew,
Yeah.
and that's a 10-week experience.
Or you're planning to get married.
Yeah.
Whichever one of those spaces.
Yeah. But it's foundational in that it deals with a wide range of topics.
Yep.
You know, from in-laws, communication,
Sex.
fighting fair,
Yeah.
sex, you know, all those. And then we have the second one, which is couples and money. It's an online experience. And this one, it kind of narrows down to finances.
Absolutely.
I think we realize from my experience that financial incompatibility is just such a painful thing for couples.
Yeah.
And that's how we got
Money
can break marriages.
No
So-
finance without romance.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are two, Ndoa and couples and money.
Absolutely. And then this is we love doing this. And so if you'd like to join the Ndoa Couples community, use the link on the YouTube. If you're already part of the community but you don't get WhatsApp messages from us, then the reason is because you haven't saved the number in your phone. So save that number. If you don't save the number, then WhatsApp won't allow us to communicate with you, which I think is actually a good thing. So make sure you save the number, then you'll be able to get good, helpful mentoring content from us.
That's so interesting because Virginia Mary said she's been a member since January. She missed out last week, but been missing out on WhatsApp updates. So
that's what it is. That's actually what it is.
going on.
You save the number on your phone, and you'll be sure that you'll get updates from us.
Yeah. There's somebody called Mary watching from Abidjan. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, nice.
She's been a member since January.
Awesome.
And then we have Mary Mukali watching from Kavumbo in Joska.
Joska.
Fantastic.
Very, very nice. I
Yeah.
love it. So hey, we're going to be jumping in, but before we do that, what's your highlight this week?
No,
This was International Women's Day. Was that your highlight?
Yes. You say so.
What was your real highlight?
Actually, what my real highlight is that I actually have I don't know, God has just answered quite a number of my prayers. And I think this week one of the things I realized there's a difference between understanding what God's will is for you and then seeking His purpose for the things that He's entrusted you with. And that's a big difference. And when you follow God's wisdom, then you have no option than to win. You will actually win. You'll actually experience victory and the things that you're doing. So I think learning that and trying to live that way this week has just been very exciting for me. Now, you look, yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay, that's so deep.
Yeah,
Okay.
so deep. What is yours? It can be as shallow as it can be.
Well,
as you
my
need it to be.
highlight this week is, well, actually, my highlight is being today. We're not at home, as you could tell. We're at Isaac House,
Yeah.
which is a guest house out in Kenya.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
And yeah, I think it's actually my highlight, just being away.
Yeah.
Being
I look
being
forward to relaxing.
yeah, just being here and relaxing. So that's
Yeah.
really nice. But I've also had some really. I mean, today we had a great staff meeting, part of
yeah, we did.
Bavuno, and that's been fantastic. And also just been really enjoying our couples and money experience. We're mentoring a group of couples through couples and money,
Yeah.
and that's just a lot of fun as well. So I think I have a lot of highlights. It's been a really good week since we were last together.
Yeah.
So hey, we want to jump into our into connecting with our guests. Today we actually have a guest couple.
Yes, a mystery guest.
Yeah, and they are they've been friends for a while.
Yeah.
And you want to tell us a bit about them?
Yes, our mystery guests have been married for 17 years. They don't look that way, but yeah, they've been married for, and they've got 4 children to show for it. So
Absolutely.
they've been kind of busy, which is good.
They've been busy, and Janet is a teacher by training, but and then Madere is a scientist. But the interesting thing about them is none of them ended up in that field. They both ended up in marketing and sales, and they both worked for Big Pharma. They worked for years.
Multinationals.
Many years working for multinationals, selling pharmaceuticals. And that's actually, they're phenomenal salespeople, by the way. They can sell ice to Eskimos, as they proverbially say.
Yeah.
These guys are really good at that.
It's interesting. It would be good to find out why they quit.
Well,
I mean,
we'll ask them
find out. We'll find that out. But they are both passionate about health and about mentoring newlyweds. They are very
Absolutely.
specific. It's about newlyweds.
And they're both passionate.
they're
Let's just say
really
they're a passionate
passionate
couple.
about that, yeah.
Let's welcome Josek and Janet Maderi.
Woohoo! Hands up! Just show them some love.
Yep.
Josek and Janet.
Are you there?
Yeah. Turn on your video.
Yeah.
Oh, there
great.
you are.
Great.
All right.
We can't see you. I don't know if you can
All right.
Is your video on?
It's like
Are you in the dark?
it's disabled.
The host has
The host has
disabled.
disabled.
The host has disabled you.
How is that even possible?
Why would we even want
Yeah,
to disable? Why would we even want to disable you? That's so weird.
As in, host has disabled.
Video.
Weird.
That is the weirdest
Weird.
thing. Okay, let me just see. What could I do?
Let's go
there
to
you go.
more.
Okay. Bum. Did I actually do that? Okay, there you go. All right, that might solve it. See if that works. There
Yeah.
you go.
Great.
Okay, that was me. I take responsibility. Great to see you guys. Welcome. We've been looking forward to having you guys on the show for a while.
Yes, I'm so glad you could make it this
yes.
time round.
Right.
You're such a fun couple. You're one of the most fun couples we know. So we're really glad that we can introduce you to the world, to the people who are going to be seeing you today.
Yeah.
I know, Josek, you just came in from traffic. You just pulled into home.
Sure.
So Mombasa road traffic can be brutal. So
I think we were in it for 2 hours. I mean, we were in it for long.
Today, actually.
I slept through it, so I don't know how it was driving for you.
Yeah, so glad to see you guys. So karibuni sana. Maybe you can tell us just so to get to know you and hear a bit of your story. So in 1 minute, we just want a very short, and I know this is going to be hard for Madari, but just 1 minute. How you met. We want to hear his and hers version. So let's start with Madari's. How you met, 1 minute.
Wow. We met at Egerton University.
Oh, wow.
That's the first. That's the place we met. I actually met her in a Bible study that I was not supposed to be part of at all, which somebody bulldozed me into it. And then I listened to her story. I'm like, wow, there are girls like that who love the Lord like that, who have such a fantastic background. So what I did after the Bible study, I checked the room number and I said I'll be back. And I was back, my friend.
You are back.
So Madari, let me just ask. You're telling us you didn't notice her beauty, you didn't notice how she looked, you just noticed that this woman loves the Lord. That is so deep, my brother.
Not really. Let me be very Can I be very, very honest with you? I had this funny philosophy that I should run away from beautiful girls.
Oh, wow.
And I used to do that very painfully. So, of course, when I go to her room, I was stunned by her beauty, then I remembered my policy. So I kept her off until she opened her mouth. And I had her love for the Lord and her depth and her background. I said, wow, I might have the beauty and the brains together and the character, everything. So I said, I'll be back. So when I came back and I'll never regret it.
All right. Maybe you can hear Janet.
And I'm forever grateful for the person. Actually, do you know, I had refused to get into the room. Then the lady who was a focus staff kicked me to the room. And so I actually got into the room running because I'd been kicked from outside. She's now in the US. And I was telling her the other day, I think I owe her a little bit of dowry.
I think you do.
Yeah, you owe her
I
a
think
goat.
you do. Janet, what's your version of this story?
I remember us meeting in one of the Christian Union functions, and he's the only person I didn't know. So I was introduced to him by a friend who knew that I wanted the song that goes that God will make a way. And they knew that he loved the song. So they introduced me to him, and they said, this gentleman actually has the song that we've been asking for. And apparently they used to call him Baba.
Oops. Did we just
So when I was introduced, I was so happy to be introduced to him, but I thought he was, I don't know why, or he was engaged or something, because he had a very big ring on his hand. But it was just a decoration.
He was trying to chase away beautiful girls.
So yes, when yes. So after that day, he came to my room. He brought his radio and the cassette, and he left them there for a whole semester.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
My goodness, you invested. I think that was just called investing. Seriously.
My roommate suffered because he had bought the radio together. So I donated compass.
You donated public goods for the sake
Oh,
of private
Yes.
enterprise.
Oh, wow.
That's so serious.
So we're going to ask you some questions again, just for you to answer very quickly, that we can get to know you. And we'll start with you, Janet. Janet, what is something you enjoy doing that Josek absolutely does not?
What do I enjoy doing that he does not? I enjoy cooking. I love cooking. And I love games, sports. I really love playing sports, be it basketball, netball. I just love going out there and playing. And I think he likes music. He doesn't like playing as much as I do.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
But maybe I could ask you, Josek, what is something about you that drives your wife crazy that she wishes could change?
Yeah, especially the last few years when I was learning the saxophone, I could be on the saxophone for 4 or 5 hours continuously. Oh my goodness. It ended up, we almost followed every evening because I could be on the sax training. I trained myself to play the saxophone and I thank God for that. But it was very grueling. So sometimes I could be on it intimately, continuously for 5 hours. That used to drive her crazy. Real crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, and the way I used to love it, sometimes with my voice. But now we are finding some kind of balance of sorts. But yes, I could be on my sax like a crazy man for 5 hours, literally.
Okay.
And that used to make her feel like I have another wife.
Maybe it was how you were playing.
It was a joyful noise before it became something
For
else.
long hours. Like, we should go and practice for an hour or two, but not for 4 or 5 hours.
He was
surely.
obsessed. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of...
And then, Janet, who is the one who easily forgives and who's the one who most likely holds a grudge in your marriage?
He forgives easily. I'm the one who is likely to hold a grudge.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Let me, final question for you, Joseph. If you were to look back at your life what's one thing you wish you knew and you did different when you got married? Like, if you were to go back to your wedding day and do a rewind, what's one thing you'd do differently going forward?
Sincerely, and this is exactly the way it is. By the way, my name is Madhuri, which in my Chinese means nothing but the truth, so help me God. So I will speak nothing but the truth. The only one thing I regret, seriously, and we talked about last week, is that we got married when we were financially ignorant, completely ignorant. Sincerely speaking, that one we regret. We will not be where we are now. We will be somewhere very different. So we had so many other skills here and there, but we didn't know we needed financial skills, financial literacy. So we've been financially illiterate for quite some time, but with an assumption that we know it. But really now I know we actually didn't have it.
Oh wow. Well, I mean, you're the right people then for today, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about finances, and so I didn't even know you'd say that, but I'm looking forward to hearing a bit of your story. And we'll be asking you to tell us a bit more about that. Today we actually had asking for a friend, which is our online WhatsApp community, and there was a lot of conversation today on the WhatsApp group. So just different people having different opinions about money betrayal, about how money, different spending habits can bring lots of chaos in marriage. And one of the things that we found is, let's see, I'm just trying to flip to some of the comments that were made. One person said that the whole idea of working together as a couple when it comes to money sounds like a good theory, but they were very doubtful it could actually work. Another person said, and this one I thought was interesting because I saw this on a couple of WhatsApp groups today. He said some HR practitioner once said that she was surprised that in her more than 10 years in the profession in different companies, she realized that more than 90% of the women, they wrote their children, mothers, and siblings as next of kin, and said, but men 100% wrote their wives. And the person said, why is this a discrepancy? And there was a lot of conversation that went on about men and women and how men get suckered, I think.
Yes, men get young girls when they get a lot of money.
No, but the whole conversation was how would a man trust 100% and the woman gives all the money? Next of kin is her children, and as you can see, you are taking sides on that. You're not being objective. So anyway, these are some of the issues we were having, and there was quite a bit of heat generated in some of those conversations.
So, and I'm so glad today that we have you, the Matheris, because you've been married for a while now, and I'm sure that you have your fair share of story or money conversations. And and I love the fact that you said when you got married, a regret that you might have is that you came in with very little financial literacy. And okay, we see you now. You've been married for 17 years. You look quite happy. But I'm sure, as with all marriages, you've had hiccups along the way. So maybe what we could just do is start from the beginning. How did you start off in your financial lives together? Maybe we can start with Janet and then Madhuri.
So by the time we were getting married, we all had our independent jobs, and we had salaries, and we were used to managing our salaries differently. So when we got married, we had gone through premarital counseling, and there was the idea of working, our monies together. But it was not that easy. It was really difficult because we were already, entrenched into working out our monies on our own. For me especially, I found it because I'm a saver, I wanted us to save a lot. And he was a spender, so he wanted us to spend. And so what would happen, 1 month we would plan together, and the next month I would pull out and just manage my money on my own. And remember, when you're working, when you're a young girl or a young lady, there's the issue of independence that is all over the place, that you need to be an independent woman. Why would anyone manage your money? And that really can bring issues in marriage. So that would get into me at some points when the money wasn't managed very well, or even when I didn't manage it well, and I would pull out. And so it was not a good, we weren't achieving anything much. We were just getting by the day, just like daily food, rent, no more things. We weren't doing any projects. We were not able to do anything substantial.
And you said
until we committed to working on money.
So you said that part of it was
Yes,
you were feeling
go ahead.
You're here trying to save, but this guy wants to he wants that money to know him. He wants that money to feel it has an owner. so but I can imagine that gave you a lot of insecurity. I'm just feeling that must have given you some insecurity, just some feeling of, this guy could finish all our money. Madhuri, what was your perspective as this was going on? How are you processing this?
Lovely. For me, I really loved my girl, my wife, and I knew she was a good saver. But then that is part of the reason why I asked her to marry me. Part of the conversation she made in that very first conversation, I could tell she's very good with financing, and here I'm safe. Anyway. And for me, I was transparent. I was open. I wanted to work with her in everything. By the way, the first job that she did in the pharmaceutical world, now I need to confess. Let me just say this. I worked very, very hard for her to get her job. I will not say anything else. She used to be a teacher, so I pulled her from the classroom, got her a job, and we found ourselves reporting with the same boss.
Yes.
And I really assisted. No bribery, no nothing. But I prepared her adequately for the interview, if I may say that. And so since that time, we have done so many things together, and I love it, even when I make mistakes. Now, for me, I came from a background where, my dad was very tight on how money was to be spent. He's a man of the book up to now. And so he was too organized for me. And keeping the sanguine in me, I felt like I'm a bit suppressed. So the moment I got my job, I could feel like the money is warm in the pocket, giving, spending, doing trips was my thing, making the girl happy. So I'm like, finally I found my freedom. So that's where my spend trips came from. I'm not trying to excuse it, but that is where it came from. I feel like finally I have my freedom. I can do what I want,
Wow. So here it is. Your background is you are suppressed. You felt you're suppressed. You are not allowed to, and so for you it's finally freedom. But Janet, you're not interpreting it as freedom. You're interpreting it as a threat to your security. What is your background like, Janet? How is your background different?
My background was it was different in the fact that my parents weren't the ones, that would follow through. We would not live within our means. So there was a lot of borrowing here and there. And that made me insecure. And I taught myself that when I had my own job, I would really save and I would never borrow. And that's still my one of the things that I really hold very dear. And so when I even got my salary, I would make sure I've saved almost 80%.
Wow.
Like even when we were working, anybody who was broke would come, would know that they can come to me and I will always loan them.
Including her bosses, sometimes.
I
Senior people.
Yes, I always have money. And I knew, even if I have 1,000 shillings, I have to have some change. Even today, it's really difficult for me to spend all of it. I will go for high quality, but I will make sure there's change.
There has to be something left
out of any money that I have. Yes.
That's so interesting. I don't know if you're seeing that. I mean, one comes from a home where there's lots of order and structure, and as a result, they go the opposite way. They're like, I want freedom. The other comes from a situation where there's no structure and they feel insecure, so then they're like, I want. So here are two loving people who meet with different scripts and different backgrounds, and the recipe is chaos.
Yeah. So what kind of challenges did you experience? For you, Janet. I mean,
you're laughing here,
laughing
but
now,
I'm sure
but
it wasn't
I'm sure
a laughing matter.
Or a laughing matter.
All those days, I tell you, those days we weren't laughing, we weren't smiling as broadly as we are doing now, because I would insist that at the end of the month, I need to we need to put our monies together, and then he'd come and like have the money spent, and I would not even understand how could half of the money be spent. And he's like, look, 10% of that money I bought you 1, 2, 3. Like he would buy me even up to date. He buys gifts. He would have bought me a handbag. He has done so many things. Wow. He met somebody who is needy. He gave them like another 10%. Like he's just a giver. He gives and gives and gives, and he remembers that it's time to plan when most of the money is gone. So it was just, I wouldn't. I was like,
I was hoping she had to say my ear.
So Janet,
I would be like, he's so good. He loves me so much, but he really just needs to get this money story together.
Yeah.
Like we really need to move together. Yeah. If we have to do anything substantial. So we started dreaming together, and
so let me ask you.
It came together. At some point, he realized.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Janet, whether it ever crossed your mind to have a slash fund, because if you're so, I mean, for you, saving is so important, and he is spending all the money. Did that ever cross your mind about having a secret account for a rainy day?
Well, because we had different accounts, and then we had a joint account, then of course there are days I would just be like, I'm gonna keep my money, you continue with yours. But I knew that he meant well. Even when he gave, he meant well. Yeah. So I was torn between his, it's coming from a place of a good place. So I was torn between what he wants to do and what's going on at the moment. But at the end of the day, he did just come in good time and just said, what we are going to do at the end of the month, this amount is going to go to the joint account and I won't touch it. And he agreed to it. Wow. So I solved. But this happened during our first years when we had issues. But by the third year, we were good.
I always tell guys, when you see a good, responsible, amazing married man, I always tell people, don't assume he got there by himself.
Panel beating.
Someone paid the price. Someone worked on that man, So Madhuri, I mean, it's interesting just hearing that story and just how it must have been frustrating for your wife. But then Now, 17 years later, you're this guy who's leading and doing great things, and we're going to come back to a bit of that. But there's a question that was asked today that I thought maybe you can speak into and give us some wisdom on. Because this person asked a question about this guy who they even fundraised with his wife, his fiancée. They were fundraising for the wedding. They raised about 300,000 Kenya shillings. Which is what, $3,000?
$3,000. It could have been more than that, but anyway, I think he took three.
But anyway, the guy took off with the money before the wedding, never accounted for it, spent it, and so when the time came to pay for the wedding bills, they didn't have the money, and so they had to actually the girl's family had to do a little fundraiser to help them pay off some of the bills. And the man never ever came clean. I don't know whether he was embarrassed. I don't know whether maybe, if you were to meet that young man today, Madheri, because I guess you probably would feel, maybe he had a good reason. I don't know. Maybe he was just embarrassed. Maybe he just went and gave it to somebody. What would you tell a guy like that? And what would you tell the wife as well? Because what happened is, according to the person who was sharing the story, that the lack of trust was so deep that even today, 3 years later, it still has not been healed. They just still are not able to trust each other.
So did they get married?
They did. Remember, this was discovered when they were married and the money was not there to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So the marriage started on that note.
Wow. I would say this, that as much as we say the man is the head of the family, in the real sense, the man is the foundation. Mm-hmm. He is the foundation of the family, because remember, even when creation happened, Adam showed up first, and even everybody else. So as a man, who you are is the foundation of. So for a man who wants to get married, certainly they desire to have a good marriage and to have kids who are responsible. So it just happened that whatever we do as men or do not do as men affects generations. And so I would talk to him and tell him, man,
sorry, you're muted. We can't hear
muted.
you. You're muted. Okay. Sorry, you're saying you talk to him and tell him?
So I would talk to him and tell him, you know what, my brother? You are the foundation. The building can only be as strong and as weak as you are. And for a man to get married, they need to have a strong marriage, a good union, and the progeny that come after you. Unfortunately, when you lay a weak foundation, you cannot have a strong structure that comes after that. So there are things today I don't do. I get tried, I get tempted, I get tested as a man. But when I remember my sons, when I remember my daughter, I say no, and a big no. And so I would tell him, man, for the sake of your marriage and for the sake of the generation that will come after you, let us deal with this foundational integrity issue. Mm-hmm. And so I would encourage him and tell him that what you did is not just an act. It's a seed, it's a foundation, and your kid's gonna build on it and become even worse than you did. And so for the sake of that is so important. You want to create people who are better than us. I want my sons to be better than me. That's why I play the saxophone with them. Whatever entrepreneurship we are in, after our son finishes KCP, we are going down there to coast with him so he can actually do what I'm doing. I want him to be better than I am. So for the sake of the progeny and the family that you are building, that is not a simple act. We would have to revisit and find out, why is this such a foundational issue? Can you deal with it for your sake and for the sake of those that are building after you?
Wow. I like what you're saying. So what you're saying is, as men, we just need to understand everything we do sets a foundation, sets a tone, and will be copied by those who come after us. So that's pretty serious. And so I think I think Janet, what would you tell the person? Because I'm thinking for you, maybe as you got married, you had this guy who was not quite what you had thought in terms of money and spending. Now today he is. But there's maybe that lady who's feeling so betrayed and feeling there's no future. I mean, I cannot even move. What would your encouragement be to that person?
I think one of the things that I'll tell them is that it's important to be patient as you work together. Because when you know the heart of the person that you are with, unless really they are outright, they do not want to learn, then some of these things could be just background and, trying to assert yourself. So be patient, but come up with a way which you can discuss and be able to work together in. Because if you could let go, and you let go of someone who was going through the process of getting it right. Because if I remember very well, he would account for everything and all the monies he was using. It's just that this was done much later. It was not done as per plan. So come up with structures to help you. There are many structures out there that can help you manage your money better and encourage your spouse.
Yeah.
And if you're going to say, I would say that for our brother, that is not a small thing. Yeah. One, he needs to confess to his wife totally and completely. Let him be completely naked on that matter. And let them seek help, because help can be sought. Yeah. Because certainly, I have this feeling the man did not exactly mean evil, but he was hiding some things, he was covering up some things, and they were exposed. I once did something like that, by the way, sorry to digress. As much as I've been so open to my wife, one time we went for a cousin's get-together in one of my uncles. I'm a happy guy and I like putting people together. Now, where we had gone, the kind of a party that we had, after that, my wife talked to me and told me, okay, I know Uncle is very generous and kind, but I don't think he can afford the kind of a bash he has thrown to us. And then my wife was like, so what was your role in that bash? I'm like, wow, I was caught because I had actually funded the party behind this.
I think she was...
And I think that is why we need to do.
And I got caught. We had the same day.
But I asked you in love, I asked you.
And I confess. And since that time, I realized there's not much I can hide. So I just decided to be naked, to be honest, to be sincere and transparent. Yeah, it's painful, but it works.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that things really go south is when you really know that you need to speak up. And as long as you can do it respectfully, and at the right time, when they are not, you cannot go asking issues when you're out there in the crowd. Most of the time, your partner will be willing to let you know what really is going on. And I think sometimes we just, give up, or we confront in the wrong places and at the wrong time.
That's so true.
But that said, this gentleman needs, they say that what has not been confronted before marriage only accelerates during marriage. Wow. So I can imagine a particular guy. Wow. I can imagine what the wife had to go through. Wow. So they really do need to seek help.
So that's so powerful what you just said. I think that's a quotable quote. What is not confronted before marriage will only accelerate after marriage. So if you're dating, for those who are watching this and are dating, what you're hearing is, if there are issues that you're seeing, any inconsistencies, any challenges with the way the person manages money now, if you don't talk about it, if you don't deal with it now, it will actually flare up and accelerate. I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. Can I just say a few other people who
go
are
ahead.
on? We have William here. We have quite a number of people watching from different places. William, welcome from Kigali. We have Elsie. Woohoo! Good to have you, Elsie. Lucy says, I love the mystery couple. I guess you're no longer a mystery couple, but Lucy's doing couples and money, so I'm wondering whether she's in your group. There's Ivy from Uganda, and David, he's actually Dr. David Ngaroya from Auction House. So thanks, guys, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask, and I think we will have time for some responses. Now for Madhuri, with this, I'm still on this guy. And what I suspect is
Yes.
that he probably had debt. Usually, you know, by the time you're taking that kind of money, there must have been some debt. So maybe the question, and I know that this is such a painful thing for wives, huh? Because you know somebody is taking debt, you're not understanding why this person is not forthcoming. You know, there are those people who you're trying to find out, so where's the money? A lot of times women are really trying to be open and to be supportive, and you know, let's kind of manage our money, you know, in a certain way to build the family. But you have this guy who's totally not transparent, is into debt and not willing to tell their wives. So maybe I'm asking this from a woman just trying to understand what is in this man's mind. I think you said you talked about kumulikwa or to be exposed. Maybe just share that a little bit so that we can understand. So that as a woman, because usually a woman will get annoyed. It will be a fight. It's what Janet is saying. You will confront in the worst possible way. So maybe, Madhuri, you could explain to us just what is going on in the psyche of someone. And I'm not excusing this behavior, because there's also integrity issues there. But maybe just help us break it down a little bit for us.
Help us understand so we have some empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would talk about vulnerability. Marriage can't work until you're vulnerable to each other completely and totally. I was privileged one time to be in a group of young men, and we had one old man kind of talk to us. And that discussion came up about, should the wife know how much I'm earning, and should I know how much she's earning, and should I not keep my money to myself? And the fairly old man gave an analogy, told one of the guys to stand up. Okay, say, okay, you guys, you told me you are John, let's say, for example, yes. You're married for how old? And said about 4 years. How many children you have? 2. Oh, you have 2 children. So he asked him, tell me, how did you get the children? What do you ask? How do you ask me such a question? We just had children. No, I want to know. How do you have children? Then he said, well, you sleep with your wife. How do you sleep? Let's sleep here. Then the guy slept, and they were, so can we have children now? No. You have to sleep without clothes. Oh, without clothes. Okay. So you sleep without clothes before your wife, right? Okay. Now, so your wife sees your private parts. Is it right? Okay. Can you show me? And he, no, I can't show it. No, come on. Are you mad? Then he says, okay. Then he told him, look at your foolishness. Here we are as men, we are talking about your salary. But the wife who you sleep with, who knows your nakedness, and who you sleep before, completely, totally naked, you are hiding some few coins from her.
Wow.
Can that be more foolish? And we all say to ourselves, wow. Marriage works when you are vulnerable, but we need to work on our minds here because of where we're coming from, feeling like you can't open up totally to your wife or to your husband, then it can't work. So because you are vulnerable in marriage, then you need to be vulnerable in your finances. You need to be vulnerable in your relatives. You need to be vulnerable in your in-laws. You need to be vulnerable in each and every way so you can achieve oneness. So for that guy, he needed to learn that you don't open up during sexual intimacy, but you hide during money. No, it is vulnerable during intercourse and vulnerable even in the bank account.
Wow.
It's something most of us don't know.
That's
so for you.
What happens is that the marriage ends up being a half-baked marriage where you are like companions, where you are like colleagues, where you're like roommates, funny roommates, Yeah.
But what I'm hearing you say, you mentioned something there, is that they didn't know. They probably, I mean, because a lot of us come from families, African families, where basically the thing that's told is that as a man you manage, you don't need necessarily to tell your wife. But I also suspect there's shame. There's a lot of shame because you're talking about being vulnerable, but there's that person who is like, this is too much. I can't,
and nobody taught me how to be anyway.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shame because of, if you're in debt and you're not managing your money properly, I'd imagine there's a lot of shame, especially if your wife is the exact opposite, who her things are working out very well compared to what is going on in the man's life. Maybe you can talk about that shame from a guy's perspective.
Yes, it is shameful, for real. But the thing is that we need to encourage each other as men to go through this shame, because at the end of it, when we overcome this, it's what makes our wives trust us, it's what builds the trust between us and makes people walk together, naked and not ashamed.
Yeah.
And so it's just like when we show up before a doctor and he has to inject sometimes not on your arm, he has to go to other places. You have to choose between that and going home with your sickness. So there's a level of vulnerability that is not necessarily meant to embarrass us. It is meant to heal us and make us better.
Yeah.
And as somebody said is that, antiseptic on a wound, it pains, but it pains healing. Okay?
Yeah.
So there is pain that is just pain, but there is pain that is healing pain. Okay? And so that kind of pain and shame, if I may say, it is a healing pain. It's therapy. It enables us to deal with our inside that has been so hidden. And unless that breaks, we cannot be together. It's like a seed that falls on the ground but does not break up. It remains on its own. So the same way we are, if we remain in that hard shell inside ourselves and don't break, then we do not grow at all. We don't germinate and we don't grow at all. We just end up on our own. And so we end up in a marriage where it's not exactly a marriage. It's like a partnership. It's like, comrades, that kind of a thing, because we were avoiding that shame and that pain. But little did we know, it's like pain birth. It is painful to give birth to children. I've seen that all my kids fall into my hands. It's not an easy experience. But at the end of it all, there's jubilation that comes. And so I would say, men, we need to know better that there's a certain pain and shame that only makes us better and not bitter.
Let me come back to that, because I wanted to just ask for the ladies, maybe both you, Caro and also Janet as well. How do you deal with a spouse who's not willing to learn or be open about their financial shortcomings? So I like this whole conversation about be vulnerable, But then there are people who are stuck maybe in a space where you feel my spouse has glaring issues, they're not willing to deal with them, and yet they're not even willing to come up and to confess or to even admit that they have the problem. What do you counsel? Because there are many people who might be watching right now who are in the exact same situation. I don't know what both of you would think about that.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Janet.
It's a difficult place to be for any lady, any wife, because the man is the head. So there are some things that can really shake you up, like when the man does not want to communicate, he does not want to open up, and you do not want to expose him. So it takes you to a place of a really bad place. And I think what I've learned is there are little triggers that can be used. Probably try and talk to him when he's at the right, when he's in a good mood. But if he completely refuses to talk, I think it's only much better to talk to a mentor who both of you have agreed to talk to.
Yeah.
In case issues are not resolved, it's good to talk to a mentor, and it will also be good to talk to a counselor. I would imagine that Pastor Caro would even have a better response to this one, because it's difficult. It's actually a difficult.
Yeah. It's a painful place, as I said, for women, and there are questions that are coming up, regarding this. It's a very painful thing, because I think for a woman, you're thinking about women are the ones who think a lot more about family. I mean, for a woman, when the family is working, then her life is okay. For a man, when his workplace is working, even if his family is not working as well, and these are just generalizations, then they are okay. But I think for me, when I had Madhuri talking about shame, I was like, wow, I'd never thought about it, because as a woman, when you see this kind of behavior, then you come quarreling. You come quarreling, you come fighting, kneel by mouth, all those things. And I think that when you have that approach, just think about it. All of us have certain vulnerabilities. And the thing that we do is that we hide. It might be financial, or it could be something else. But the thing that we do is that we hide. So when we have someone coming to bulldoze us, in a certain area, that we are very vulnerable, then we are likely to run even further. So I'm not excusing the behavior. I think what I'm trying to do is to just help us understand that there is a very vulnerable thing there that is going on, that if you find yourself as a woman in this situation, understand that first. One, they may not know, or they just a family background. Secondly, might just be that real high sense of shame.
Yeah.
So it calls for a lot of wisdom. I love the fact that you called and said maybe see a mentor, but I bet you that man might go kicking and screaming if at all they agree to go. If at all they agree to go. Now, one of the things that I saw my friend doing is that her husband would travel, and but when he came back from his travels, I think he'd be so tired. He'd not be so forthcoming on, how the journey was like and so on. And so what she did, she started inviting friends home. And then of course they would say, and then in the course of the conversation, it would emerge that he's just come from a journey. And then that's how she used to hear the stories of, that's how she used to hear the stories of the journey. You see, that's what is called wisdom. In the sense, because you know your spouse, what they, you know them and their shortcomings. I'm not saying it's the ideal, but that's the way that she had found to deal with. So I think there's a place to pray for that kind of wisdom. Is it possible to invite those kinds of friends home? Is it possible to attend seminars? Is it possible to even read as a woman books? I know there are also women who would go for whatever seminars that they're going for and then just come and share and just say, this is what I'm learning, this is what I'm doing. And it's sinking in, even if the person is not responding, it's sinking in. And there's some men who have been known to come round and to actually open up and be willing to now start having certain conversations.
That's
all I would say to a woman is that bulldozing, sulking, meal by mouth, all those strategies, if they are not working, because they are not going to work, just quit doing them and pray for God to give you wisdom, or talk even to an older woman, and I tell you, you will get the wisdom that you need to solve the problem.
Okay, that's very helpful, by the way. I know that that's a question that was asked on our WhatsApp community. There's someone who talks about the fact that they've been married almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And the hubby basically just is a terrible money manager, lives beyond his means, but somehow managed to survive. But then with COVID, everything was exposed.
Oh wow.
But then the problem is, for this woman, she's a super saver, and so she says, it's just interesting how there's a problem that the guy is facing, but he's not willing to talk about it, and so it's just caused so much friction in their marriage. And what I'm hearing both of you saying is, number one, being sulking, because she even said we haven't talked for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Sulking won't help you. It will actually hurt your marriage even more. But I also hear you saying a few things which are like,
win him over.
Win him over.
Yeah, win him over. And I think marriage is about emotional intelligence. I tell you, it's about humility, emotional intelligence. Calling on other resources that you've never even had to make use of, but it's actually winning the person over. I'm not saying like for that lady who has financial, the man is not very good finances. Is there any way of finding a way of him giving you that money, or you coming up with projects that money definitely has to go towards, that money, and you can say, let's build this, let's do this, the money just definitely has to go
there. That. So I like that idea, because maybe there's a place to be open, and if you're sulking and you're fighting, you never talk. But it's possible to actually even chat and say, look, this is a reality. We're in a vulnerable space right now, and to say, would you allow me to start a fund or an investment for our children. Because when we're exposed like this, our children are in danger. And so be able to come up with a project where, as Pastor Carol says, the money just goes straight to that and is not involved at all. We cannot access it. And he knows but he knows that it's not to hide from him. It's actually for the sake of the family.
Yeah.
But somehow a wise woman will not win through seeking to now hit back, or a wise spouse. Let me put it that way, because it could be the man in the other situation. But it's through winning over your spouse, understanding that they're still your spouse at the end of the day. And the key thing about it is understanding, it takes two. And so if you break this one, you'll have to go to another one, and it'll still take two there. You might as well make the one work that you have. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I know both of you did Couples and Money. And actually, you were in our group, and that was one of the things that was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed. You guys are fun to have in any group. And I know right now you're even facilitating your own Couples and Money group. And you guys look like you laugh all the time. Your group is like permanently laughing. Any picture I've seen of your group, you're all laughing. Because I think you guys like to laugh as well. But tell us, what was there any difference that Couples and Money brought to you guys in the way you saw money? Because you did talk about learning and just continuously trying to learn as a couple and increase on your learning. What are some of the things that you felt shifted for you, or what changes because of doing the course?
Right. If I may start, I would say I actually realized there's something called money conversations. Okay. And like you jokingly say sometimes that, when there's no money, love gets out through the window. No finances, no romance. It's a reality. So beyond this thing of I love you, babe, and I can do anything for you, like I tell her sometimes physically or even through my sons, there is money conversation, which is a little different and needs to be integrated with our romance. And most people don't have money conversations. They just exist. Pay this bill, do this, I paid this, school fees, I have this balance. And you think that's money conversation. No. We learned the art of active listening, because when money matters go south, so does the marriage. And so you need to spare time. We try to do that weekly. I say we try, and sometimes almost every day. Yeah. So where you sit down and say, what concern do you have about money? And you let your partner express themselves fully and uninhibited. And once they say what their concern is, sort of things that happen in Couples and Money, then ask them, so did you mean that you are concerned that I am not putting all the money into our joint account? And so I'm frustrating you whenever you want to pay certain bills. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that I need to put everything? Or are you saying that I'm putting and withdrawing? Have that money conversations very vulnerably, very sincerely. That is something we've learned. Otherwise, you can always talk about money when you're driving, when you're washing dishes. You make that, okay. That's not a money conversation. You need to have an intimate money conversation that actually makes, especially the wife, very secure and very firm. And that actually affirms your wife and lets her know that there's somewhere we are going. And so I check for us as the men who are the leaders in the family to realize where we are going wrong, so that, as teaching time saves 9, we don't wait for the 9, we do it when we have a chance for that teach. So one of the things I learned, or we actually learned, is having money conversation, money bits, where we go out and we are just talking about ourselves and our money journey. Where are we? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? That seriously was awesome.
Wow, that's fantastic. How about you, Janet? What is your take out?
There are quite many lessons, but one of the other things that we've learned is that there are different seasons, different money seasons, that your whole life, there are different seasons, and what you should be doing in those seasons. There is the beginning, there is getting established, there's building, there's getting established, and there's getting to significance. Now, unless you get to understand the details of each of all these seasons, you may just be going round and round in circles like we used to. And you actually don't know where you are. You don't know whether you need to, build in a hurry so you can catch up with your age. And you don't know whether your life will be significant or not.
Yeah.
And that has really been one of the big things that has touched our lives in a very special way, such that in some of the modules, we just actually felt like it was us who are being talked about, and that we needed to fill in the gaps as soon as possible to get to the place where we are in. So it's really been an awesome course. And that's why we also decided we want to go in there and facilitate. And as we are facilitating, we are getting to learn more and more.
Yeah.
And just wondering, did we even see this? How come we did not see this? Because we were doing it. It was exposed to us for the first time. And as we interact with the material, we are getting better and better. We got to learn about passive income. It's easy to just talk about passive income and talk about money that comes to you when you're sleeping and just think it will just come from anywhere. The ways into which you can do that, just having an awesome network of people who challenge you, who ask you questions.
I love that.
I mean, people you are walking the same direction. That just has been a good, takeout for us.
Wow. And I know we're going to end early because Josek has to actually head out to something that actually happened for you guys as you were doing Couples and Money.
Yeah.
This is a big passion that you both share. Maybe you can tell us a bit about that, Josek. I know that you're actually on your way because this thing has become such a huge direction shifter for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. We are soulmates, so allow me to finish her sentence. She meant to finish her sentence this way, that there are different seasons of money in your life according to your age. Okay? And so there's a place for foundation. And if you don't do your foundation right, you find yourself, you're in your 50s, and there are some things that are still at the foundation.
Yeah.
There is then the growth or the developmental stage, So what you founded, if you didn't grow it now, you abandoned it, you need to quickly go and grow it, such that according to your age, you learn where you're supposed to be in life. That was very, very important. And that is why we have what we call midlife crisis. Because you reach a certain age and you realize, my goodness, I don't have this. What happened?
Yeah.
And so before you get into a crisis, because there's also, after midlife crisis, there's another crisis where you almost get into a depression. Yeah. And then after 65 years, you wait for results. Whatever else you be doing, you wait for results. Now the chicken come home roasting. So that is very important. That's what she meant to say, that you need to know where you're supposed to be at your age. And if you missed certain steps or you didn't do them well, please, you need to have a rewind class very quickly so you can catch up.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Probably to give an easy example, you do not want to retire and your children are taking care of you.
Yeah.
You're waiting for your kids who are also building themselves to take care of you. I mean, I think it's one of the worst places to be.
Wow.
as an.
Yeah.
So the other thing we learned is how to make our assets to sweat for us. That was a big question because of lack of financial literacy, you find people saying, houses are assets, land is an asset. So you find people accumulating land. Like I'm in a group, one of the groups I'm in now, we bought 90 acres another day,
Wow.
we bought 60 acres another day. But you ask people how this is going to help us, it's very true conversation. But just that feeling of we have an asset. But an asset is not just supposed to be there for the sake of book records, that I have an asset worth 10 million, 20 million. No, an asset is supposed to sweat for you, passive income. So one of the things we learned through Couples and Money is how can we have the assets that we have to sweat for us? And we realize we have a number of assets that we're just enjoying life easy without sweating. No. These things have to sweat. These things have to sweat some income. So, for instance, we had some land in Coast, which happened as we were having Couples and Money. God opened interesting doors, and we got this land in Coast, which for a long time our parents had always wanted us to go and have a check on it, but we were busy working for European and Indian companies flying all over the place. And oh my goodness, I wish I knew what I know now. Anyway, so we finally got there because during Couples and Money, we realized we have some land right there that is just a forest. So we actually went there, we looked for the papers, we found them, we found the title deeds and everything, the maps, everything. And then we realized, wow, this is a forest in a forest that is 3,000 acres. It's not our land, 3,000 acres, but our land is right in the middle of a forest that is actually 3,000 acres. And we asked ourselves, what can we do? And so one thing led to the other. We had just, graciously just invented concrete hives that are very ideal for those kind of environments. And so now we came up with a concept of doing beehives big time in that place. And this has been so very awesome. It's turning out to be such a great project, not just because of the money, because also of the people we are touching their lives, and how it has such a huge potential of sweating passive income that passes on to our children's children.
Wow.
It's really looking awesome. And yet, we have had this land for the last 40 years.
Wow.
But it was just
It was just there.
yeah.
But then maybe you can speak numbers, because people are just hearing.
How many hives are you looking
How
at?
many-
What
yeah.
kind of?
What kind of income are you talking about? Annual income?
Because I know you're even calling people to invest with you.
Yes. The land is not so big but not so small. The land is about 54 acres, okay, which our dad graciously gave us as our inheritance. And I can tell you the place did not look very attractive. Kind of nobody else in my family was really interested with it, because it really looks a very awkward bush and a forest out there with wild animals, and you don't know what to do with it, okay?
Yeah.
But now we have come up with a concept. We hired the services of an apiarist who understands bees and beekeeping, and we were told that because of the uniqueness of that place, we are barely a kilometer to the ocean. Half of that forest is a mangrove forest. We can have specialty honey, and because there's no farming going on around, it's pure organic honey that can come of that place. We were actually advised we can do up to 100,000 hives.
Wow.
And that is phenomenal. That's really phenomenal. And so right now we have decided to work with 30,000, but we have also given ourselves our phase 1 where we are doing only 10,000 hives. And this year only, by God's grace, we are doing 1,000 hives.
Wow.
Now I need to understand what 1,000 hives is. Possibly the largest apiary I have seen in Kenya, I heard about it, is below 1,000 hives. So by next year, when we plan to do another 2,000 to 3,000 hives, by the way, so far we are on plan. We are actually slightly above plan. We'll actually be the largest apiary in East and Central Africa, by God's grace. I mean, that is quite something awesome. That will actually be some of the big guys, together with the people we are working with, the investors, controlling the honey industry, which is seriously adulterated. And we are committed to Kenyans and East Africans having a real taste of honey. And that's our motto, that we're taking you back to the old original taste of honey. So we are so thrilled that we'll come and let Kenyans taste real honey. And the fact that there will be so many jobs, there will be so many other products coming out of that place. We are changing the village in Shimoni where we are, with the jobs that we are giving out there and the training we are exposing the people there. So finally, what education we didn't have, we are having a time to educate our own children.
Yeah.
Because now we also educate our own children financially, seriously so. Our own children are also earning money and they are buying hives. Okay.
Nice.
So by the way, by God's grace, we did some mathematics, some numbers, and realized by just letting our kids earn money by doing course at home, and each of them just managing to get just 3 hives, they will be able to pay for their hives, for their college education, absolutely anywhere, any private parallel program, any, including medicine. And so we are so thrilled, and our kids can't wait to work with us as well.
Wow.
And we also passing similar education to the villagers.
The passion you guys have is exciting. I think I love your passion. I love your friendship, by the way. That's one of the things that we really admire about you guys, that you're such good friends, and that God has just allowed you to work together. But I think for me, as I hear your testimony, for me is, I'd probably just want to land that ship and say, guys, this is what Couples and Money is about. It's really not just a course. It's really a life-changing experience. And one of the things that we're committed about is raising kingdom dollar millionaires. That's part of our vision, is that we want to actually raise millionaires. People who understand money, so that money doesn't bring divisions and disruptions between them, but they're able to hand it over to the next generation well, in a way that's a blessing. And are also able to be a blessing to their society. And all those points you've mentioned, as you went, I was so proud. I was like, exactly everything that's there, and the neighbors are being blessed, the children are being blessed, the next generation is being blessed.
Yeah.
And yet here you are with you had everything in your hands, you just didn't know you had.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really this is about. So I think I want to just challenge, if you are interested in Couples and Money, you'd like to be part of that program, use use the number on the YouTube channel. I put that little thing. It's a link there. Click on the Doha community link. and you can actually just mention and say, hey, I want to learn more about couples and money. We'll send you some information because we're starting a new class. We're just about to conclude on our class. We've got a few more weeks before we graduate, and then we'll be starting a new class towards end of April. So this is the time for you to begin to pay or to get to reserve your space.
I just have one last thing. Please give us numbers. When you have 1,000 hives, what are you expecting? Because
what's your bottom line? She just wants to understand your turnover.
Because people are not aware of about the bee business, so they might just be thinking, oh, hives, oh, nini. But just tell us, bottom line, 1,000.
Okay. What can I say? Let me say this. Actually, we've about 10,000 hives, which is our ultimate as a step one. Okay. We are looking at something very slightly shy of a B, okay, of $1 billion shillings, okay. $1 billion. So you have 10,000 hives.
Yeah.
That's a B per what? Per annual or what?
Yeah, slightly. Okay, I'm talking of something slightly less than $1 billion shillings worth of turnover with 10,000 hives. Yeah. Okay, and
that would be your annual turnover, right?
Yes.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Yes, at 10,000 hives.
So I think what we're talking about is this is not children's play. This is serious stuff that we're talking about here. It's life and death. And I think the beauty for me is that you're both a part of this vision. I know that as God has begun to just touch your hearts together, you've even talked about the fact that you might even relocate your whole family towards this thing because it's fitting into your purpose and into the goals that God has called you. And I think for me, when I see that, I'm like, this is exactly what Couples and Money was intended to do, is to wake up couples to understand the potential that they have. That you guys were here, as you said, employed by multinationals, thinking you're making good salaries, not understanding that you could make the same turnover as some of those multinationals that were employing you and making you feel happy with the salaries they were giving you, you know? You could be the multinational.
You're the multinational.
And now the opportunity you have to employ many of your countrymen and even people around the region simply because there's an alignment and there's an understanding of your God-given purpose. And also an understanding of how to sweat the resources God has given you as a couple. And I think for me, we're excited when we hear that story. Now, I know you're going to be heading out in a few minutes. We need to release you because you're going to be going to, you're going to be heading out to Shimoni for your next stage. And this is an active process that's going on. So we want to just pray for you. But we want to just say thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us, for sharing so vulnerably, for being real. And for our audience, we pray that this has been a blessing. We pray that this has been answered some of your questions. Some of you have been in places where it's been discouraging. You've been in places where you've almost given up. My prayer is as you hear Janet speak about the fact that it was difficult, but there was patience. And today, she's not the one who is telling her husband to be responsible. He's the one leading the home as he should have been. But some person would have given up a long time ago and said, you know what, this guy is not, he doesn't know how to manage money well, I just better leave. And now she would not be where she is. So I think that's just, my prayer is that this is inspiring and encouraging for somebody, saying hang in there, trust God, begin to pray, find out what your part is, and who knows, and get some help also, get some counseling. And who knows that God could actually turn your situation and make it something amazing. But in addition, I think that there's men who are listening to this and you've heard what Madharia said. You are your foundation of your family. When you're unstable or when you do not involve your spouse, then you cause instability, not just for your wife, but for generations to come. And so I just pray that this has been an inspiring and a good, enriching time. I'm going to ask you to just say a prayer over our audience.
Yes, Pastor M, a second. Just a second,
go ahead.
Pastor M, before you it's good to let you know that she actually has captured our story in a book.
Oh, wow.
It's called Navigating the First Years of Marriage. And so all those...
Navigating the First Years of Marriage.
Yeah, by Janet Madharia. So we shared our story that we're sharing here very vulnerably. Please look out for that book. It's really changing lives.
Where can you get a copy? Where can you find it? Is it available? Have you put it on Amazon? Is it available at Mavuno? Where do you buy it?
It is. It's to be available on Amazon soon.
Excellent.
But
Yes.
Yes, and at Mavuno.
Okay. All right.
All
Fantastic.
right. And we also have a network of distributing. The book can find you right where you are.
Yes.
So if you find her on Facebook, Janet Maderi, you can always, the book can find you where you are. We have a network that the book will be brought right where you are.
Excellent.
Anywhere within the country.
Brilliant. You
Yes.
guys are marketers, so you should actually have
Brilliant.
that in place. Yes. So you can see their names there, just like a Janet Maderi. So please just find them on Facebook, order your book, and find out about these fast years of marriage and how to be. I think this will be a very inspiring book for people because those fast years are the ones where many
They're
people
rough.
give up. It's that rough
They're rough.
space,
They're rough.
and so I'm so glad that you guys have put your story down to inspire many couples. So, all right, maybe I could ask who we're gonna ask to pray.
Janet, so that Madhuri can take off
Okay, if he needs to.
if he needs to.
All right. But
Yeah.
Janet, if you could just pray for our audience and for people who've heard this, that God would just, especially for those who are really discouraged right now,
Yeah.
just for a sense of encouragement and inspiration, and that they'll be able to take what they've learned today and actually see a difference in their marriages.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you this evening. We thank you because of your goodness upon our lives. Thank you for everybody who's been watching us from every part of this country and of the globe. We want to thank you because it is in your good plan that they were with us tonight. I want to pray for them, for every couple, for every single person, that you may meet them at the point of their needs. Lord, for every relationship that is going through a kind of stress, a relationship that is going through financial issues, I want to pray for your providence. I want to pray for your healing. Lord, especially for those who are discouraged, I pray that you will encourage them one more time. Lord, that they will see your faithfulness. They will remember this conversation and see your faithfulness in the days to come. Lord, I pray that you will hold marriages together. You will repair any marriages that have been broken and have been listening to us tonight. Lord, even for the single people who are looking forward to getting married, we pray that you may bring to them spouses, Lord, and give them the wisdom to be able to have skills to run their marriages. We thank you for a good time and for our hosts who have been very instrumental in running this program. May you bless them and help them, Lord, to reach out to many more people. We bless you for tonight. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys. This has been awesome. There's been great comments on YouTube. Somebody said they want to come and visit your apiary, so maybe you'll organize one day and take our asking for a friend community with you to 52 acres is enough for all of us.
Yes.
So and there's just some really good classes. It seems like quite a few people have enjoyed and been blessed by your testimony. So thank you for sharing. And for everybody who's been watching, if you're interested in joining Couples and Money, please just click on the link and we'll send you some more information. If you're interested in knowing more about the Maderis, find them on Facebook and you can find their book as well. And we'd just love to make sure that you get a copy of that. So, hey, good night, everybody. And thank you so much. See you next week. And let's see what happens next week.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Good night and safe journey to Mombasa.
Asante sana.
All right. Good night.